Hello everyone, welcome to the video. The big truth about the API testing or what the API testing really looks like. In this series of the videos, we're going to learn how to start testing the API endpoint, we'll log the first API bug, and write the first API test case. Let's begin. Imagine the situation. Today is the first day at your new job. You are an expert, the QA expert. And your day starts with a cup of coffee. Once you finish the coffee, you got a notification about the email. The email is from the manager. The manager thanked us for highlighting the documentation issues we spotted in a previous video and informs us that the issue is fixed and he has improved the documentation. As the usual, motivation video. You click on the story link. You are full of hope to see new documentation, maybe even written in Gherkin. And there you go, the new perfect documentation. One image of the request and one more image of the response. The manager didn't lie to us, the story is better. We have some information in the description. Not exactly what we expected, but still. You click on the first image of the request. We have the image of the Swagger not in a good resolution. And as usual, we will have a separate video dedicated to the Swagger tool. For now, all you need to know is that Swagger is the tool for API documentation. And if you have a link to it, you have power in your hands. But not in our case. We have an image of the Swagger. And I know what you think. It is stupid to test with this kind of requirements. And I hear you, but we're going to do it anyway. I want to show you that the impossible is possible. The idea is that if we know how to test with bad requirements, then testing with requirements will be a joke for you. So let's test the story with screenshots. But before that, we need to leave a comment in the Jira. In the comment, we are grateful for the great documentation, and we ask for the Swagger URL instead of the images. We posted the comment. What we are going to do next? We can drink another cup of coffee while we are waiting for the Swagger URL. But there is no guarantee that we'll receive the answer soon. Another option is to start testing now with this type of requirement. Let's get back to the request image. Some things are new for you on that screen, like parameters, and I promise one of the next videos will be related to those. Let's concentrate on the familiar stuff for you. And there are two things we have partially learned, the request method and the path. Let's add those to the Postman. As we discussed before, this part of the Postman tools is related to the request. When we test the API endpoint, we start from the request URL and the request method, and we will start with the request method. The request method can be checked here. It is the drop-down where we can select which method we want to use, and the get method is selected as default. Let's check the image of the request in the story one more time. We can see that method that we need to use is the get method, so we don't need to change anything in the Postman. The first part is clear, the get method will be used. The second item which we need is the URL. I hope you still remember that, what we discussed in a theoretical video. And as we discussed before, the URL consists of three parts. You have the path, the domain name, and the protocol. And we need all of them to be able to send a request. Let's check what we have on the Swagger image. And so far, we can see only one part of the URL, the last part, the path. And we can't copy it, as it is the image. We have no other way but to type it into the Postman address bar manually. Let's do it. As we said before, this is the address bar. It's the same as you have seen in the browser, and we have entered the path here. But this is not enough. There are two missing parts, the domain name and the protocol. Let's check the Swagger image. There are several ways to find the API URL in the Swagger, but in our case, we don't have access to the Swagger. We have just an image. And at first glance, you can't see any domain name, but there is a URL on the screen. And it is in the browser address bar. We are interested in this part, petstore.swagger.io. This is our base URL. We have no other option but to type it manually into the Postman address bar. Here we go. Now it starts to look like an URL. And the last part, the protocol. It is not mandatory because if you won't put it, the Postman will send the protocol for you, similar to what the browser does. But let's check the Swagger one more time. The protocol is not displayed in the address bar, but we know that browser sends HTTP by default. Only one question is if it is the HTTP or HTTPS. And we can see a log icon displayed in the address bar. This means that the protocol is HTTPS. And again, we have no other choice than to type it manually into the Postman. Our URL looks like a valid URL now. The only thing which still is not common is the path ID. What this path ID is the path parameter. And as I said, we will have a separate video about those in the future. Let's check the Swagger image. The path parameters are described in this section. There is information about the valid data format and more. And we can see one in the input field. Let's put it into the Postman. Finally, our URL looks like a valid URL, and the GET method is selected. That is all that we need to send the basic and simple request to the Postman. Let's click on the blue Send button. And we got the response, but it doesn't look like what we expected. The response code is 404 not found, and the body is the same. We need to compare this to our requirements. But before that, let's drink a cup of coffee. We need a coffee break for a second. If all of this seems complex for you, don't worry. It's always hard to start learning something new, but once you learn it, it won't be so difficult anymore. And in the next video, we're going to investigate the issue and log our first defect report. Hope to see you there. Thank you for watching. If you like coffee or a coffee shop, leave a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. See you in the next video.